Now we are entering the final session, I think the most awaited one. And thank you so much to all the online participants who have been staying here for so long. And I understand that many of them joined from Southeast Asia who had to drop because of the time difference here. Thank you, Ramu, for staying long. I understand it's almost 10 o'clock in the night in India. And I see many of you from other countries where time zones are going towards midnight. So thank you. Thank you for staying over. Now we move ahead and discuss some future funding opportunities. I think this is a really exciting area and a hopeful area. We are hoping to come as a community together again and again and keep trying, keep applying, and hopefully keep producing impact from our challenge-led projects. Right. So first speaker, we have Jayne Brookman, who is the Director of Partner Recruitment from IT Food. So European Union funded IT Food. So please, Jayne, over to you.
Hello there. Yes. So thank you very much for the introduction. So my name's Jayne Brookman and I'm from EIT Food, which is, as said, a funding mechanism coming out of the European Union. So all of the funding that I'm talking about, I'm going to give you a very quick overview, share the slides, and there's some links on there so that if people want to look, and we're very much open to being contacted about particular funding streams. But I'm going to give you a bit of an overview. Some of the funding is for academic interactions, some of it's for collaborative interactions, and some of it's for business. So, you know, EIT Food is the world's largest food innovation community. We're funded by the European Union. We're mission orientated, and we are aiming to drive impact across the food system. We do this by providing funding and interaction with quite a wide variety of stakeholders. I said we're led by our missions, and this particular slide sort of gives you what we're trying to do in one slide, which is that we're trying to drive change through our missions. Our missions cover things that you wouldn't be at all surprised to hear, which is the healthier lives through food, reducing risk for a fair and resilient food chain, thinking about making sure that that there is equity across the food supply chain, and also to consider the One Health agenda in terms of the planet for a net zero food system. We have, because that's a very big brief, we have priorities within that, and our current priorities are regenerative agriculture, labelling, and diversification of protein streams. But we do fund across a broader piece. And if you look around the sort of the hub of this key here, we like to think this is a key, then you can see that the levers that we use to actually achieve this change are around influencing policy and regulation, particularly with a focus for European Union. We are involved in financing for change, so we actually put our money where our mouth is. We look to help in the definition of standards and collection of data, and we do this by empowering communities and driving coalitions, and this is through a mixture of advocacy, convening, and simple funding, really. As I said, it's quite a complicated slide because we do fund lots of different ways. I'm not really going to go through it on this slide, but I'm going to share these slides so that if you want to look at this a little bit later. But we work right the way across from education, innovation, entrepreneurship, into the areas of public affairs and public engagement. And we also have a regional component because we work right the way from Iceland to Israel. What might be of interest to our academic as well as our industrial colleagues might be our impact funding framework. The openings of this is up until the end of next year. We will then go into a second framework, but we have regular closing dates for that. So this is an always open fund. There's 2 routes into that, through larger collaborative pieces or a single project which is based around a particular business. Unless it's a social, it can also be around social enterprises. And what's really important for us is that we either have economic and environmental impact or we have societal impact. So impact is key for us. We've just closed in a round now, so the next round will be closing in March. So there's no precise date at the moment, but there's a link there to that funding. And there's also an indication of the sort of scale of funding. So these can be really quite big projects, up to sort of €2 million over a couple of years. The single projects tend to be a much more of a point solution rather than a platform for larger change, and they are can be led, as they say there, by a variety of organisations. If you've got academic or if you've got postdocs and PhD students or academics with good ideas that maybe they would like to take forward, whether that's for commercial gain or for societal impact, we also have our startup support programs, and they run right from the very beginning, in what we call seedbed, which is where we take that idea that somebody might have and try to help them understand the importance of not just considering the technology push, but also thinking about what the market is that's going to be addressed there. And so over a period of time, those individual people would be able to validate the market for their commercial idea or their innovation. We then have an accelerator, and our accelerator is slightly different from many of the accelerators that are around in the fact that the end point is not so much about getting early stage businesses ready for investment alone, and the end point being pitch ready for investors. It's much more around being pitch ready for technical validation and business acceleration. So again, there's a little bit more of a technical aspect in terms of thinking about where you get to at the end of that interaction. And then our final sort of intervention program with startups is around the Rising Food Stars. And so this is a group of businesses, usually there's about 40 at present at any one time, who are in that phase where they may have already got their initial technology right, but that to be able to deliver it at scale, to have the impact that is needed, they need help to do that scale up. And we can help them in a variety of ways through network and funding of projects and more broad interactions, both with businesses and with the wider community. We also have ways of investing directly into businesses and to ways of introducing businesses to corporates within the sector. There's some of the startups that we've actually been quite successful with in our support, just as an example of some of the areas that we've been looking at. We also help businesses through trying to reward, to bridge some of those gaps that you have when you've actually started up a business and you've not got a lot of money, but you have got a little bit of money. This is a way of us being able to help you by providing a loan in effect on reasonable terms, so that you can actually complete a project that will help you get to market a bit faster. And I know that Innovate UK also do something similar. What's good about this is that it isn't it's very quick, so you find out whether or not you're going to get help very quickly, and so that's quite a useful opportunity there. And basically there's our details. I know I've rattled through those, but I think what's more important is just that you're aware that EIT Food is there. we are available. We are open for business for UK academics and for UK businesses, and get in touch if you think that we might be able to help you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so our next presenter here is Mr. Rushil Ranchod, who is a Senior Manager, Strategy and Partnerships, ESRC, UKRI. Rushil, over to you.
Well, thank you for the invitation to speak to you today. My name is Rushil Ranchod. I am a Senior Partnerships and Impact Manager with Smart Data Research UK, which is a new UKRI data infrastructure investment located within the Economic and Social Research Council within UKRI. I want to talk to you a little bit about a very exciting strand of work that we are looking to fund in 2025 around the rather broad theme of smart data for a healthy, equitable, sustainable, and resilient UK food system. But before I do that, I just want to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about our program and provide some more detail around what smart data research is trying to do over the next few years. So at the core of our work is we have four key objectives. As I did mention, we are a UKRI funded data infrastructure investment, and our core is really to harness the power of digitally derived data to drive research and innovation for the public good. Our program centers on four key objectives. That is to provide secure access to data for researchers within the UK, to ensure and safeguard public trust through the demonstration and support of responsible research practices using smart data. We also are very keen to build capability within the sector around digitally derived data. And so we have made funding available to build capability for cutting edge research. And finally, we are very much focused on generating or using our funding and using our infrastructures to generate social and economic benefits and address some of the very vexed challenges that the UK faces in the current moment. When I talk about smart data, essentially what I'm talking about is the data which is generated through our engagement with digital systems, devices, and sensors. On your screens, you should have a sense of the various types and categories of data which are in scope for our program. Through the course of this morning's presentations and this afternoon's presentations as well, my ears pricked up when I heard a little, when you heard you talking a bit about kind of sensor data and imagery data. These data are very much within scope of our program. But beyond that, we are also interested in things like retail and business data, in mobile app and web data, in financial data, and things like transport, mobility, and infrastructure data as well. And not to mention, imagery and data derived from smart devices such as, smart glucose monitors or in the Internet of Things and in-home devices as well. So a rather broad range of data types and categories within scope for our program. And as technology moves forward, our data services, our data infrastructures will be incorporating some of those data within their ambit as well. So as I mentioned, we are a UKRI infrastructure investment. We have supported, as of late or mid-October, a set of data infrastructures which are based at universities across the UK. And these infrastructures are really tasked with achieving 5 objectives over the course of the 4.5 to 5 years of operation going forward from 2025 onwards. And these 5 objectives essentially are that these infrastructures need to acquire, steward, and enable safe access to smart data for research. So because smart data is typically held by private companies, we expect these infrastructures to build partnerships with these data owners, to curate and develop data products for researchers, and to make these widely available to the research community. Critically, they will also be responsible for protecting sensitive data when they make it available for research. We also want to ensure that these services collaborate across themselves, that there is a measure of federation that takes place. All the data that will be generated by our infrastructures will abide by the FAIR principles. And we expect and hope that they will be able to enable collaboration across UK data services to really enhance the kind of data research infrastructure within the UK. As I mentioned earlier on, the responsible use of data is very important for us as a program. Our infrastructures that we are funding will go beyond regulatory compliance and really embed ethics and responsibility into all aspects of the work that they will be undertaking. Again, capability becomes really important. We really want to build the research base around smart data. And so these infrastructures will establish communities of practice and again, support the development of research skills to build and extend the user base for smart data. So I mentioned that we are an infrastructure program, that the infrastructures or data services that we are funding will function essentially on the acquisition and stewarding and curation of data. But at the same time, we do expect them to function as centers of excellence for smart data research. So they will be undertaking, or they will have funding to undertake kind of impact-focused research and really to develop and extend thinking and capacity around smart data's contribution to addressing some of the key challenges that we face in the UK, but also more broadly as well. There are 4 key areas of focus for our program. These reflect UKRI's kind of strategic priority areas, but also really chime with the larger questions and missions of the current government as well. And our 4 pillars essentially are around productivity and prosperity. This really looks at kind of government's growth mission and tries to answer the question around what drives growth in particular sectors, places, or groups within the UK. And it also really focuses on issues around inequality and the centrality of place in addressing some of the social and economic inequities which are quite prevalent today. Our second pillar is around health and well-being. And this includes a focus on social care too. I mean, we are keen for researchers to use smart data to understand public and population health and the drivers of good health and well-being. And our interest in health and well-being has also spawned new research and data around food and the food system more broadly. The third kind of pillar of our program is what we've termed the digital society, and this really focuses on technology's impacts and effects on society today, and what smart data can tell us about social media use, for example, online safety, misinformation and disinformation, and really issues around those key challenges that we as an online society face currently. And then finally, we have our fourth pillar is around sustainability. And the central focus here is on how smart data can support the transition to net zero. As of mid-October, we have funded 4 data services, which really, as you can see on the slide, tap into those kind of thematic areas and thematic pillars of our program. So we have covered things like the digital society, productivity and prosperity, health and well-being, and sustainability. And then, a data service that brings together all 3 of these. Due to time pressures, I don't have the opportunity to go into and explain these data services in more detail, but I would urge you to have a look at our program website, the details of which are at the end of this presentation, to get a sense of the really diverse set of data sets that will be coming through these data services which we have funded. So, as I mentioned, we are an infrastructure program, but we have reserved some funding towards an innovation fund, and that's really the core of what I need to speak to you about today. We have about £6 million available over the course of our program to direct towards kind of high impact focused research using smart data. In 2025 and 2026, we are directing roughly £1.5 million to kind of research that is focused on the food system, and really keen to use this research to have a kind of cross-pillar focus. So we want to embed kind of interdisciplinary thinking and interdisciplinary research, focused around smart data and the food system in the work that we're going to be funding in 2025. In terms of our progress on this, we've run a relatively small expert-focused consultation to develop our call, which will go live in mid-2025. And that consultation really looked for inputs around the scope and focus of a potential investment within the food sector. We aren't, experts in food systems research, so we really are relying on the wider community and expertise within the community to help us shape a direction of travel for our investment around food. And we've got some really interesting feedback through that consultation process. And in addition to helping us kind of refine the parameters of what we may look to fund next year, we also asked our community to kind of help us think through what approaches there are to high impact activities to drive interdisciplinary research and innovation, how we can potentially promote communities of knowledge and practice around food, and how we can really demonstrate the value and utility of smart data to enhance the UK food system. UKRI has invested significantly within the food system, but we really want to identify those gaps and areas where smart data can have a positive impact in taking forward research and innovation on the food system in the UK. To help structure our thinking through this consultation process, we really framed it around two areas of interest for us. The first is leverages some of the work that's been funded by BBSRC around addressing consumption challenges through smart data to tackle health inequalities within the system. And the second area or proposed area of focus for our program is around understanding and trying to understand how we may best optimize the UK food supply chain for economic and environmental efficiency and resilience. And the focus of the latter area is really around this interaction between the economic and environmental nexus across the food system, and looking at how we can actually build efficiency and resilience across the system as it advances using smart data. We had some, the emerging themes through the consultation were really interesting for us. I don't want to run through all of them right now, but there was a very strong focus around kind of the intersection between healthy, environmentally sustainable, and affordable food production, availability, and consumption. The issue around kind of systemic perspectives came through rather than focusing on individuals. And I think somebody mentioned earlier on in the presentations this afternoon how important systemic perspectives are, which is really good to hear. There has been some really positive inputs around supply chains and how kind of data sharing and access can be enhanced to optimize the food supply chain. Obviously, health inequalities becomes a very big focus became a very big area of focus through the consultation as well. Issues around kind of food deserts and food swamps and how we can address kind of healthy interventions to drive equality within the food system was a key theme that came through the consultation as well. The food aid sector and alternative supply chains was also something that came through. These issues around kind of the social infrastructures around food, so things like your community restaurants, food banks, and how we can kind of work with them to develop small grower supply chains was also something that is really kind of sparking innovative thinking around how we may be able to use smart data to make an intervention in that space. And then there was issues around kind of the metrics around food environments, so how we can develop data points for more granular place-based understandings of local food environments as well. In terms of our next steps, we are very much in a formative ideas and ideation phase of where we would like to go with this. The consultation helped us or advanced us along that journey, but I really would encourage you to reach out to me if you have ideas on how we can collaborate and work together to refine what a £1.5 million call on the food system may look like. If you do work in this area around smart data, we also are very keen to hear from you. to build out our research community and a wider community of practice around smart data. As I mentioned, we do have these data services which will be coming online roughly within early 2025. So there'll be a lot of opportunity for partnership and collaboration going forward. As I said, we are happy to have conversations as a program. If your interests are in kind of the food system, please do reach out to me. My details are on the screen, but if you are interested in finding out more about the program and some of the investments we have made, our website and LinkedIn and LinkedIn profile is on the screen now. Thank you very much.
Wow, amazing insights and details, and you all get this in STFC Food Network. So you have presented to the right audience here, Rushil. We are a network where we have a lot of data scientists, people working with the food systems researchers. So expect a lot more contacts coming from our end to you, and some questions as well. Okay, I mean, to be honest, these are the presentations which I don't want to interrupt because we really want to understand the funding landscape of the future. So entering into our final presentation for the future funding opportunities, we have Fleuriane Fernandes, Senior Portfolio Manager from BBSRC. Fleuriane, over to you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm Fleuriane Fernandes, part of the Business Interaction Unit at BBSRC. So I'm going to present a few of the funding opportunities that we have on at the moment, but just briefly on the Business Interaction Unit and what we do as a team. So we very much try to foster and encourage business and academic partnering. So we have two strands within our team. So that's the development of strategic programs, so aimed at filling gaps within the research landscape. And we also have our business partnering team, which sort of falls more into the responsive mode and other rolling funding that we have on at BBSRC. And we span across 5 different sectors. So I'm responsible for the health sector within the team, but we also work on crops, livestock, industrial, biotechnology, and also business partnering as a cross-cutting theme sort of sector. So looking at things such as AI. So in terms of opportunity, first of all, one of the main programs that we have on that is related to sort of nutrition and might be relevant to this community is the Diet and Health Open Innovation Research Club. So BBSRC has funded in 2022 6 hubs, and the program is of about £15 million across 5 years. So the 6 hubs have quite a broad remit in terms of diet and health and nutrition. So we have hubs looking at consumer behavior, for example, related to novel products and food products. We also have some of the hubs looking at health and gut microbiome, but also the influence of plant-based products on improving health across the life course. So quite a broad remit. The hubs are coordinated by the British Nutrition Foundation. So there is a link here at the bottom, and you can check out the hubs in a bit more detail, and also what type of opportunity and events that they are running throughout the year. So just briefly, each of the hubs are able to award different types of funding to their communities. So all of the hubs can award feasibility awards and business interaction vouchers. So both of these type of funding have their own sort of specificities in terms of budget and requirements with industry contribution. So I'll invite you to sort of have a look at this more thoroughly if you're interested by these calls. At the moment, the biofortification hub is looking at opening a call for both these awards in February 2025. And the hubs are also able to offer flexible mobility awards, so to help the development of skills and talent and the mobility of staff between academia and industry. So most of these are usually open calls or have rolling deadlines. So the upcoming ones are for the Inform Hub, which is looking a bit more at sort of gut microbiome and the influence of diet on this. So their next review is on the 30th of December. The Biofortification Hub, again, also has a deadline upcoming, and the Consumer Lab has an open call. But again, I would encourage people to check the Hub's website or the British Nutrition Foundation website, because most of these have rolling deadlines, so they are running more or less throughout the year. Part of the ORIC program is also that we have launched a second competition spinning out of the main program. This was co-funded with Innovate UK, and we have funded 13 projects which are looking at developing novel products to improve health and nutrition. And we are also looking at developing a third sort of stage with an additional competition, which we are aiming to launch in the summer. So again, something to watch out. And this will also probably be co-funded with other UKRI bodies. So moving on from this main program, we also have another few opportunities that might be relevant. So the AI Bio UK network has launched a pilot funding call. So the deadline is quite close now, but they are aiming to open a second round in 2025. So this can be an opportunity of relevance. And they are for this current call, but likely to be similar for future ones. So they're funding small projects of around 20K and looking to create tools and resources at the interface of AI and bioscience for the community. But they also have a flexible fund, which is aiming to support the community to run events and activities and explore the development of innovative activities, again, to support AI within the biosciences. So I've put a link here if people want to sort of have a more closer look. All of these things I'm also happy to share with the organizers if that's useful to circulate. Then we also have our Industrial Doctoral Landscape Award, which has just launched last month, I believe. So this is replacing our current CTP studentships, and this is aiming to have a industry leading on this. And we are looking at awarding around 195 of these doctoral awards. We will be funding the full economic cost, but require the lead project partner to have an additional 20% of this total cost. So there was a webinar on this last week. The recording should be available on the BBSRC website, so you can get more detail around this if you look at this. But the application deadline for this is on the 18th of February, 2025. But if people are interested, they should look at submitting a notification of intent by the 17th of December this year, because full applications without this notification of intent will not be assessed. So it's important that people submit this year if they are looking at developing a full application for that. Again, a few links here and an email address as well if people are interested in this new scheme. Then we also have our follow-on fund. So this is aimed at previously funded BBSRC projects which might have a significant commercial output or the potential for one, or for example, develop spin-outs from the projects funded by BBSRC. So we have closed one of these rounds quite recently, but again, this is a rolling one. So we are anticipating a new call to open in 2025, probably first half of the year. But in the meantime, we have organized a showcase webinar, which will take place on the 5th of December. So we'll invite people to register and attend the webinar, because there'll be the opportunity to sort of look at previously funded projects through the follow-on fund. So that should be quite interesting. Then again, following on our sort of rolling deadlines and rolling funding. So as part of the responsive mode, and people might not be aware of this offering as much as the other ones within BBSRC, but we offer these two schemes, so the Industrial Partnership Award and the Link Award, which are very much looking at fostering the business and academic partnering. So for both of these awards, there are conditions around industry contributions. The IPA awards are a bit more fundamental and academic-led, whilst the Link one has a higher industry contribution and is more related to applied research. So these tend to be slightly bigger sort of projects. So the next responsive mode, I think, opens in January. So this will be part again of this rolling funding. So we'll invite people to have a look if they have any sort of industry collaboration that they would like to try and fund and work on. Then another thing that we have, so we've had on in the past, and we are looking to have a new round in 2025, is the BBSRC STFC Facility Access Funding for Bioscience Partnerships. So this is to help businesses and academics to sort of access STFC skills and expertise, but also unique facilities. So I have the list here. So for example, the Diamond Light Source or the Bowlby Underground Laboratory. So this was quite successful. We've had 2 rounds so far. And as I mentioned, we're looking at developing a 3rd round for 2025. But what I can say is that we would like to see more buy-in from researchers looking at health and nutrition and food. So that would be a good one to keep an eye on as well when it comes out. And I think that's it in terms of what we have on at the moment in terms of offering. You can find the contacts there for these different schemes. You can also contact the Business Interaction Unit, so our team. So mainly if you have sort of industry partnering, like ideas or focus as part of your research. But just one last thing to mention is that we have organized a community webinar, which will take place on the 12th of December. The deadline for registering is this Friday, and it will be the opportunity for the community to ask questions to our new executive chair, Anne Ferguson, and sort of see a bit of a showcase of the BBSRC activities as we've come up to 20 years of the BBSRC existing. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fleuriane. So our future is looking bright. That's what I can say, at least from the funding landscape. And thank you for highlighting BBSRC and STFC facilities collaboration funding. I think definitely there would be many researchers here who would want to go ahead and apply for those funding.